Welcome, everyone. We're diving deep into the world of DEI today.
DEI.
Yep, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know that hot topic in the corporate world?
Right.
We're going beyond just buzzwords, though. We're digging into what actually makes a difference, what really works.
Okay, I like it. Sounds interesting.
And for this deep dive, we're turning to a pretty cool report. The World Economic Forum's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Lighthouses 2025.
World Economic Forum, huh? So, like, the big leagues?
Exactly. This isn't just some collection of nice-sounding initiatives. The report spotlights companies with DEI programs that are seriously making an impact.
Measurable impact, you mean?
That's it. Real results.
I'm all ears. Tell me more. What kind of companies are we talking about?
Well, prepare to be amazed. We've got a Jordanian bank empowering women entrepreneurs.
Wow. In Jordan.
Yeah. And then there's a Brazilian energy company, get this, training female electricians.
Female electricians? Seriously, that's amazing.
And hold on, there's even an inclusion center at a mine site, combating gender-based violence.
You're kidding, at a mine site.
No kidding. This report throws any "it can't be done"
Yeah.
excuse right out the window. These companies are proving DEI success is possible, no matter the industry or location.
So inspiring. You've definitely got my attention. What's their secret? What makes these lighthouses so different?
Well, the WEF report makes a big point right off the bat. DEI isn't a trend anymore. It's becoming essential for businesses in our ever-changing world.
Essential, huh?
Yeah. Think about it. When the global economy is shaky, it often hits underrepresented groups the hardest.
Makes sense. They're often the most vulnerable.
Right. And then there's the tech explosion happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Companies need a diverse workforce to keep up and innovate. Adapt or die.
Precisely. And don't forget about those big demographic shifts happening globally. An aging population, that's a game changer for the talent landscape.
So companies are realizing, hey, we need to get serious about DEI if we want to snag the best talent out there.
Exactly. It's becoming a necessity, not a choice.
Okay, DEI is becoming essential, got it. But we're not just talking about those surface-level initiatives here.
Oh, absolutely not. The report highlights a really significant shift. Companies are moving away from just training and awareness programs.
Right, because that's not enough.
They're moving towards actually fixing the system,
Yeah.
tackling those root causes of inequity head on.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Give me an example. What does fixing the system actually look like?
Take pay equity reviews, for instance. Companies are proactively looking at their compensation systems.
And not just assuming everything's fair.
No way. They're digging deep to find and fix any gender or race-based pay gaps.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's about taking a hard look at those existing processes and making real changes. What else? Any other examples of this system-fixing approach?
Absolutely. We're seeing major improvements in parental leave policies.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Companies are going above and beyond the bare minimum.
So what, like longer leave, more flexibility?
You got it. And even on-site childcare in some cases.
Wow. It's like they're finally realizing that supporting employees' lives outside work is key to a truly inclusive environment.
Precisely. And then there's the move towards more transparency in hiring.
Oh, interesting. Why is that so important?
Because unconscious bias can creep in at every stage of recruiting, from the job posting to the final interview.
Makes sense. So how are they dealing with that? Blind resume reviews, maybe?
That's one approach. Some companies are scrubbing resumes clean of identifying information.
No names, no gender, no ethnicity.
Exactly. It eliminates potential bias based on those factors. Others are turning to AI-powered tools to screen candidates, focusing on skills and experience, not human judgment.
It's all about leveling the playing field.
Exactly. Everyone gets a fair shot.
All of this sounds fantastic, but let me ask, is this only something big corporations can afford to do?
That's a common misconception, and the WEEF report tackles it head-on.
Okay, good.
While almost half the companies featured are those big players with over 100,000 employees.
Right, the giants.
The report also showcases success stories from companies of all shapes and sizes, even startups.
So size doesn't matter as much as commitment.
Exactly. It's about genuinely wanting a more inclusive workplace and actually taking steps to get there.
I like that. So even small businesses can make a real difference in DEI.
Absolutely. They just need to be dedicated to the cause and put in the effort.
Okay, we've established DEI is crucial, and it's not just about surface-level stuff. But what are the real ingredients for success, those things that make these Lighthouse initiatives stand out?
The WEF report breaks it down into 5 common factors, 5 keys to success.
Ooh, a roadmap. I'm all about roadmaps. Let's hear it.
First up is a deep understanding of the issues.
Deep understanding, huh? Sounds pretty basic, but I bet there's more to it than meets the eye.
Oh, you're right. It's not about just saying you care about DEI.
It's about walking the walk, right?
Exactly. These companies don't just make pronouncements, they dig deep into the root causes of inequity, both within their organizations and the communities around them.
So it's about more than just acknowledging a problem exists. They're really understanding its complexities.
You got it. They gather data, talk to employees, conduct surveys, and hold focus groups. They want to pinpoint those real barriers to equity.
Whether it's unconscious bias, lack of representation, or a culture that doesn't feel inclusive.
All of that. It's about listening to the lived experiences of employees from diverse backgrounds.
That makes a lot of sense. So deep understanding is the foundation. What's next on our roadmap to DEI success?
Key number 2 is having clear goals. Vague intentions don't cut it here.
Got to get specific.
Absolutely. These companies set specific, measurable goals. They know exactly what they want to achieve and by when.
So they're approaching DEI with the same rigor and accountability as any other business objective.
Precisely. It's about setting clear targets and tracking progress. And this data-driven approach is crucial.
For proving the impact of DEI.
Exactly. It helps them secure continued investment, too.
Okay, so deep understanding and clear goals. What's the third key ingredient in this recipe for DEI success?
This one's a biggie. Leadership buy-in.
Because it's got to come from the top down.
Absolutely. This isn't just an HR project. Leaders, especially CEOs, are actively involved and accountable for driving DEI progress.
Because actions speak louder than words.
You said it. When leaders visibly champion DEI initiatives, it sends a powerful message to the whole organization.
So it's not just about ticking boxes or putting out statements. It's about weaving DEI into the very fabric of the company culture.
That's the goal. It shows DEI as a priority, that everyone's expected to contribute. Now, that brings us to the fourth key, and this one's important. Context matters.
Ah, interesting. What do you mean by that?
There's no one-size-fits-all solution for DEI. Successful initiatives are tailored to the specific context of the company, its industry, and the communities they're part of.
Right. What works for a tech giant in Silicon Valley might not work for, say, a manufacturing company in the Midwest.
Exactly. They've got to consider their own unique circumstances, their workforce, their industry, their local community.
So it's about being thoughtful and intentional.
Absolutely. It's not about copying what someone else is doing. It's about finding what works for your specific context. And that brings us to our fifth and final key. Data is king.
Data-driven decision-making, just like any other business aspect, right?
Right. These lighthouse companies don't just launch programs and hope for the best. They track their progress meticulously.
So they're using data to hold themselves accountable and make sure those initiatives are moving the needle. But how do they measure DEI progress? It's not as simple as, say, tracking sales numbers.
You're right. It's more nuanced. They're tracking representation in different departments and leadership levels, but also things like employee engagement and retention rates.
Ah, so they're looking at whether employees feel included and valued, and whether those efforts are translating into a more engaged workforce.
Precisely. And they're also looking at things like pay equity data, promotion rates, and the outcomes of the recruitment processes. They're asking tough questions. Are we making progress? Are our employees from underrepresented groups feeling included and valued?
Are we creating a workplace where everyone can thrive?
Exactly. And if the data shows they're not meeting their goals, they're willing to adapt and try new approaches. Data helps them course correct.
So, to recap, the 5 keys are a deep understanding, clear goals, leadership buy-in, context-specific solutions, and data-driven decision-making. These are the things that set these lighthouse companies apart.
That's the winning formula. They provide a framework for building impactful DEI initiatives that get real results.
This is all fantastic, but can we get into some specifics? Can you walk me through some of the awesome initiatives these companies are implementing?
Absolutely. Let's shift gears and take a look at some standout examples from the report, starting with Accenture, a global IT consulting giant. They've got a long-standing commitment to LGBTQI plus inclusion.
Accenture, huh? I've heard of them.
Yeah, big company. Their Pride Means More initiative goes way beyond just policies. It's about creating a true culture of acceptance.
And this is where that whole context matters thing comes into play, right?
Yeah.
Supporting LGBTQI plus employees in, say, San Francisco Probably looks different than in Dubai.
You're spot on. Accenture gets that, and they've tailored their approach to different regions and cultures. They've also focused on building a strong network of allies.
Allies, like people who support their LGBTQI plus colleagues.
Exactly. They have a whopping 90 employee resource groups in 45 countries with over 141,000 allies.
Wow, that's a massive network. And it's clearly making a difference. The report says 82.4% of Accenture employees feel comfortable being open about their sexual orientation and gender identity at work.
Isn't that amazing? It shows the power of a supportive and inclusive environment. But hold on, it's not just those global giants making strides. Let's talk about a company that might surprise you. Bank Al Etihad, a Jordanian bank tackling economic gender gaps head-on.
A bank in Jordan. That's really cool. I love that this report highlights DEI isn't just a Western concept, it's relevant and impactful everywhere.
You got it. Bank Al Etihad saw that women in Jordan faced major barriers to accessing financial services and starting businesses. So they created targeted programs to address those challenges.
Training, mentorship, access to capital, I'm guessing?
Exactly. All of that, specifically for women entrepreneurs.
Okay, but did it work? Those are some bold goals, especially in a region where traditional gender roles can be very entrenched.
The results are seriously impressive. Their female borrower base has grown 16 times since the program launched.
16 times. That's huge.
And they've also seen a big jump in women holding leadership positions within the bank. Their board now has 30% women, up from just 9% before the program.
Talk about measurable impacts. They're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
Absolutely. And it proves that even in places where progress might seem slow, committed companies can make a real difference.
Okay, so we've got a global IT giant and a Jordanian bank making waves. How about a company tackling DEI in a more, shall we say, traditional industry, one that's often male-dominated?
Let's talk about Iberdrola, an energy company in Brazil that's addressing the lack of women in technical roles. They're creating women-only electrician schools.
Wait, they built entire schools just for women.
They did. They realized existing programs weren't cutting it, so they created dedicated spaces for women to learn and thrive.
It's like they're literally changing the landscape of the industry to be more inclusive.
Exactly. And the results are undeniable. Female representation in electrician hiring at Iberdrola has jumped from a measly 1.7% to a whopping 36.4%.
Wow, talk about a power surge. It proves that with focused effort and a willingness to shake things up, you can make real change.
Absolutely. Even in industries that have historically struggled with diversity, it highlights that sometimes you need to go beyond traditional recruitment and create entirely new pathways for underrepresented groups to enter and succeed.
Love it. So we've seen companies focused on LGBTQI plus inclusion, gender equity, and breaking down barriers in a male-dominated field.
Yeah.
What about a company focused on supporting those facing social risk, those with disabilities or migrants, for example?
Let's turn our attention to Geronimo Martins, a Portuguese retail company taking a very deliberate approach to creating opportunities for these often overlooked groups.
A retail company, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They realized just opening up job applications wasn't enough. They needed to understand the specific needs and challenges of each group and offer tailored support.
So they're not just throwing a bunch of solutions at the wall and hoping something sticks. They're taking a more strategic, individualized approach.
Precisely. And to really get it right, they partnered with over 100 NGOs.
Wow, over 100. That's commitment.
It is. They wanted to tap into the expertise of those organizations and understand the nuances of working with these diverse communities.
It's not about imposing their own solutions, but truly listening to the needs of the people they aim to support.
Exactly. And to go even further, they built specialized training centers.
To help equip those individuals with the skills needed to succeed in retail.
You got it. They're not just handing out jobs. They're providing the tools and support to thrive in those roles.
And is it working? Are they actually getting hired?
The results speak for themselves. 47% of trainees are hired after completing their programs.
That's fantastic. Almost half are getting hired. It shows that when companies invest in those inclusive pathways, they unlock a wellspring of talent that might have been overlooked before.
It's a win-win for everyone involved. So we've seen examples from tech, banking, energy, and retail. How about a company in the world of luxury goods?
Ooh, luxury goods. That's a whole different ballgame. I'm intrigued.
LVMH, the luxury goods giant, is another great example. They've been pushing for gender parity. But not just with numbers. They're taking a really comprehensive approach.
So it's more than just getting a certain percentage of women in certain roles.
Right, they've got mentorship programs, networking events, and leadership development specifically for women. Plus, they conducted a global salary audit.
To ensure pay equity.
That's it. It's a holistic approach that recognizes creating a truly inclusive environment requires addressing multiple layers of potential bias. And they've taken a really interesting approach to fostering a sense of belonging for women within the company.
Oh, tell me more about that.
They have these LSVMH networks all over the world.
What are those?
They connect over 10,000 women across different brands and regions. It's about creating a supportive community where women can connect, share experiences, and learn from each other.
So it's not just about getting women in the door, it's about giving them the support they need to thrive and advance.
Exactly. And the impact is undeniable. Women now hold a remarkable 65% of management roles at LVMH.
Wow, 65%. That's amazing. They're truly walking the walk.
They're leading by example and proving that a commitment to gender parity isn't just the right thing to do, it's a smart business strategy.
It makes good business sense, too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm curious now. What about a company tackling DEI in a region that's often overlooked in these conversations?
Let's head to the Sahel region of Africa.
The Sahel region.
Yeah. We're going to look at Schneider Electric, a company empowering women in the green energy sector there.
This is where context matters. Comes in big time, right? The challenges and opportunities in the Sahel are unique.
Absolutely. Schneider Electric knew they needed a program tailored to the specific needs of women in the region. So they provide technical training in renewable energy, but also help women secure funding.
So they can start their own green businesses. That's incredible.
Exactly. They're empowering women to be entrepreneurs and leaders in the green economy.
It's a win-win for everyone, for the women, for the economy, for the environment.
It really is. And the results are impressive. Over 5,000 women-led green enterprises have been created through their program.
Wow, over 5,000. That's amazing. It shows how businesses can drive positive change in their communities. So we've seen examples from tech, banking, energy, retail, and even luxury goods. Now, for our last Lighthouse example, let's turn to a company that's taking on a particularly challenging issue.
Let's talk about Tech Resources, a mining company tackling gender-based violence head-on.
Mining. That's a tough industry, especially for women. The environments can be so remote and isolated.
Exactly. And Tech Resources recognize that the mining industry could be especially vulnerable to this issue. So they didn't shy away from those tough conversations. They dug deep to understand the specific challenges.
They talked to experts, conducted surveys, listened to their female employees.
All of that. They wanted to really understand the nuances of gender-based violence in the mining context.
So what did they do about it? What steps did they take?
They created inclusion centers at their mine sites, available 24/7.
Like safe spaces.
Yes. They offer confidential counseling and support services for anyone experiencing or witnessing gender-based violence, and they've implemented mandatory training for all employees to raise awareness.
So they're trying to create a culture where women feel safe speaking up.
Exactly, and it seems to be working. They've seen a significant increase in the percentage of women staff in their Chilean mines from 16% to 27%.
So women are feeling more comfortable and confident, working in an environment where their safety is a top priority.
Exactly. It's proof that positive change is possible even in industries with challenging environments. It just takes commitment and a willingness to go beyond surface-level solutions.
I agree. And it highlights that DEI is about more than just numbers. It's about creating a culture of safety and respect. Okay, one more company to spotlight before we move on. Tell me about Wipro, an Indian IT company supporting women throughout their careers.
Wipro realized that women face different challenges at different career stages, so they created a whole bunch of programs to meet those specific needs.
So they're acknowledging that women aren't a monolithic group. They have diverse needs and aspirations. I like that.
Exactly. They have programs for women just starting out, women returning to work after a break, and women ready for leadership roles. They also offer flexible work arrangements and on-site childcare.
So they're removing those barriers that often hold women back, those things that make it difficult for them to succeed.
Exactly. And their efforts have paid off. They've actually cut the proportion of women leaving the workforce in half.
That's incredible. It shows what's possible when you create a truly supportive environment.
Absolutely. It challenges that old-fashioned idea that women inevitably drop out of the workforce as they take on more family responsibilities.
Right. You can have both a fulfilling career and a family. Okay, so we've seen 8 companies leading the charge on DEI, each with their own unique approach and amazing results. But the report doesn't end there, does it?
You're right, there's more. The WEF report also includes 7 highlight examples, even more inspiring initiatives from around the world.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Give me a sneak peek at a couple of these highlights just to whet my appetite.
Let's start with the Boston Consulting Group, or BCG. They're not only supporting minority-owned businesses, but they're also helping large corporations diversify their supply chains.
That's amazing. So they're recognizing DEI goes beyond their own company walls. They're using their influence to create a more inclusive ecosystem.
Precisely. They're demonstrating that a commitment to DEI can have ripple effects throughout entire industries and communities.
Okay, I'm sold. Tell me about one more highlight example.
How about Standard Chartered Bank? They've implemented a global parental leave policy that's gender neutral.
Gender neutral. You mean mothers and fathers get the same amount of paid leave?
That's right. And it applies even in countries where that's not the norm.
So they're challenging traditional gender roles and setting a new standard for parental leave.
Absolutely. They're showing that supporting parents, no matter their gender, is not only the right thing to do, but a smart business move, too.
I love it. These lighthouses and highlights are showing us that real progress is being made in DEI. It's not just talk anymore. It's about action and impact.
And it's happening everywhere, across industries, regions, and company sizes. It's inspiring to see so many companies stepping up and demonstrating that DEI isn't just a box to tick, it's a core part of building a successful business in today's world.
So it's not just about doing the right thing. It's about doing the smart thing for your business, your employees, and the world around you.
You got it. These companies are proving that when you create a truly inclusive environment, everyone benefits.
Okay, we've uncovered some amazing examples of DEI initiatives from around the world, but what does all this mean for our listener? How can they apply these insights to their own lives?
That's a fantastic question, and it leads us perfectly to our final thoughts for this deep dive.
Okay, so we've seen these companies are really making waves with their DEI initiatives, but what about the average person listening in right now? What's the takeaway for them? What's in it for them?
That's what's so exciting about these initiatives to me. It's not just about fixing a problem, it's about unlocking potential for everyone. When companies get serious about creating an inclusive environment, everyone benefits, not just the employees who are, directly impacted by DEI programs.
So you're saying there's an actual business case for DEI. It's not just a feel-good thing.
Absolutely. It leads to better outcomes for the business,
Right.
a stronger, more engaged workforce, and ultimately a more equitable society.
Hold on, back up. Better business outcomes. How does diversity actually translate to, cold hard cash? Profits.
Well, research has shown that companies with diverse leadership teams are actually more likely to be more profitable than average.
Really? Just from having a diverse leadership team?
Yeah. They're also more innovative, more adaptable to change, and better at understanding and responding to the needs of their customer base, which is getting more and more diverse all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense when you think about it. Different perspectives lead to better problem solving, more creative solutions, a wider range of ideas on the table.
Exactly. And let's not forget the impact on employees' morale and engagement. When people feel valued and respected for who they are, they're more productive, more committed to the company's success, and less likely to leave.
Right. It's about creating a sense of belonging, where everyone feels like they can be themselves, bring their whole selves to work, as they say.
Exactly. But it doesn't stop there. The impact of DEI goes beyond a single company. It can have ripple effects on the entire community.
So you're saying that company-level DEI efforts can actually lead to a more just and equitable society. How so?
Well, think about it. When companies make a public commitment to DEI, they're sending a powerful message, not just to their own employees, but to their customers, their suppliers, the communities they operate in. They're saying, hey, everyone deserves a fair shot regardless of their background.
It's about using their influence to advocate for change, not just internally, but also in the wider world.
Exactly. And that can be really transformative, especially for underrepresented groups who have historically faced systemic barriers. It can inspire other businesses to follow suit and create a ripple effect of positive change.
It's like what you were saying before about unlocking potential. It's not just like individuals, it's about unlocking the potential of entire communities.
Now, this brings us to an important question for you, the listener. What steps, even small ones, can you take to contribute to a more inclusive world within your own sphere of influence?
That's a big question. Sometimes it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the enormity of these issues and think, what can I possibly do to make a difference? But you're suggesting that even small actions can have a ripple effect, right?
Absolutely. It might be something as simple as paying more attention to the language you use, or making an effort to listen to and amplify the voices of people from marginalized communities, or maybe speaking up when you see someone being treated unfairly.
You know, it's funny. We often get caught up talking about these big systemic changes that need to happen, and those are definitely crucial. But sometimes we forget the power of those everyday interactions and those individual actions.
I agree. Those small gestures can really make a difference in shaping the culture around us. And you never know, your actions might inspire someone else to do the same.
It's all about creating that ripple effect, one small action at a time. What other steps can listeners take to contribute?
Well, you can support organizations that are working to advance DEI, or volunteer your time or resources to initiatives that you believe in. Even just educating yourself about the issues and engaging in thoughtful conversations with others can make a difference.
So it's about using your voice, your resources, your influence, however big or small, to advocate for change.
Exactly. And remember, creating a more inclusive world isn't a one-time thing. It's a journey. There's always more to learn, more to do, and more ways to grow.
So keep learning, keep challenging yourself, keep pushing for progress, even when it's tough or you feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to challenge assumptions, to speak up for what you believe in.
Because every voice matters. And together, we can create a more inclusive world for everyone.
A world where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential, contribute their unique talents, and truly feel like they belong.
That's a future worth fighting for.
Absolutely. And remember, even the smallest actions can spark big change.
So, listeners, what will your next step be? It's so inspiring to see these companies actually putting in the work and making real changes. But it's not just about praising their success, right? It's about learning from them.
Absolutely. We can all take inspiration from these lighthouses and, try to apply those insights to our own lives, whether it's at work in our communities or even just in our personal interactions.
So we've talked about the what and the why of DEI, but what about the how? How can someone listening right now take that first step, no matter how small, towards creating a more inclusive world? Any final thoughts for our listeners to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive?
One of the things I find so powerful about this DEF report is that it goes beyond just theory. It gives us concrete examples of what's actually working. It shows us that DEI isn't just some, you know, unattainable dream. It's a goal that we can actually reach.
So instead of getting bogged down in all those big concepts, listeners can look to these lighthouses for real-world inspiration.
Exactly. They can ask themselves, what speaks to me about these initiatives? What can I adapt to my own situation? Maybe it's about pushing for more inclusive hiring practices at their company. Or maybe it's about calling out biased language when they hear it.
Or even just, making an effort to seek out and amplify diverse voices and perspectives.
Precisely. And remember, DEI is a journey, not a destination. It's about constantly learning, growing, and challenging ourselves to be better.
And that means it's okay to make mistakes along the way, right? It's all part of the process.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to stumble a bit. The important thing is to keep learning and keep moving forward. And you never know, even a small action can create a ripple effect. You could inspire someone else to take action too.
That's a great reminder. Thanks so much for diving deep with me today.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of you listening out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked some ideas and given you the motivation to take action, no matter how big or small. Remember, creating a more inclusive world starts with each one of us.